Hey rockers, happy weekend and welcome back to the channel. Trying to get some more videos your way, and I was going to answer some requests tonight by talking about a personal story and not really a rock and roll concert story. This is my video channel is basically my book in video form. Instead of writing a book, I decided to tell my tale in the series of videos, which you're watching right now. Thank you to the nobodies. Yeah, man, I was just on a mini tour of the Midwest, and somebody handed this little beer koozie thing to me, pretty cool, or drink koozie, and it's the nobodies. So, hey, thank you to the nobodies. Also, if you're a size 3XL, I've got a couple Bloody F Mess 3XL t-shirts available. Just hit me up in my email in the description area on this video. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and give it a like. Leave a comment if you wish. Tonight, we're going back to the year 1986. I, my friends, was the age of 20. It was Halloween night. I was singing for a band called Bloody Mess and Hate. The bass player of said band, we called him Bernie. He was a crazy dude with a big old mohawk, and I had multiple mohawks, like a double wide mohawk. One here and one here with some space in the middle and some spikes on the sides. Well, we were kind of punk rock at the time. Ha ha, punk rock forever. We decided to go to this party in Peoria Heights, Illinois, which was just, next door to Peoria, Illinois, where I resided at the time. We got there, hung out at the party, had a really good time. I do remember drinking all kinds of alcoholic beverages, and I was not yet 21. And of course, at the time, I had just purchased a mail Jeep that they delivered mail in, but it was a postal inspector's Jeep. It was bright blue, and the door to get in on the side of the car was on the other side, the opposite of the normal place you would drive, the steering wheel, etc. It was pretty trippy, man. But what happened was I had that thing for about 6 months to a year. I loved that Jeep. It was awesome. Everywhere I went in town, people recognized me and they knew me from that bright blue postal inspector's mail Jeep. Well, Bernie and I, of course he was the bass player for Hate, we got pretty sloshed at that party. And I remember being there thinking, man, it's Halloween night. There's going to be a lot of cops out tonight. We might not want to stay here too long, and we might not want to drink too much more. When you're 20 years old, though, that kind of logic goes out the window after you have a few drinks. But I do remember leaving the party thinking, man, we got to go. Honestly, I should have just stayed there where I was at. But Bernie and I, well, we jumped in the Jeep and we drove the, I don't know how many miles it was to Peoria, like 5 or 6, 8, 10 miles. Hell if I know. I remember once we got to my subdivision, Rolling Acres, I was feeling pretty buzzed. Yep. Here I am breaking 2 laws at once, man. I'm driving and drinking. I'm drinking underage. And here's the other part of the story I left out earlier. I was also slinging weed at the time. This is 1986, so I don't feel bad confessing any of this. And I had little grams of bud rolled up in little baggies for sale. And at the party, I went there to make some money, and to have some fun. I did make some money, and I still had 3 or 4 of the grams that I had stashed up inside of my dashboard of the mail Jeep. So if you were to reach up underneath the dashboard, you could actually stash stuff there. Well, in case the cops pulled you over, it was pretty much foolproof, I thought. Well, we get to Rolling Acres, and it's like 20 miles an hour, I believe, 15, 20, 25. It's a slow, driving neighborhood. There's a lot of kids. Of course, it's late at night. It's maybe 1 in the morning or something like that. And pitch black, right? As soon as I get to Rolling Acres, I decide I'm going to drive fast. Bad decision, Mr. Mess. Dun, dun, dun. So I start driving about 60, 65 miles an hour, kind of like you would on the highway, except I'm going as fast as I can in this little mail Jeep, right? We go all the way down the main road going into Rolling Acres. There's a sudden and sharp right turn to the right of the old Wee mini golf course. And I went to take a right there, and I freaking lost control of my Jeep. And all of a sudden, we go plowing into a series of mailboxes on the right-hand side of the road. Pa-too, pa-too, pa-too. And I mean, dude, it was like a movie. Everything was like going in fast motion. and slow motion at the same time. Maybe the alcohol helped, right? So all I'm thinking is, uh-oh, we're going to die tonight. Bernie's like trying to hold on. We're plowing into mailboxes. And then I veer to the left to try to get away from the mailboxes. And what happens? The freaking mail Jeep plows to the left-hand lane, goes straight into someone's front yard. We roll over, like literally rolling on the side, on the hood top, on the top of the hood, on the side, until we landed upside down in someone's yard. Nightmare. All of a sudden, we are like, holy hell. We were both alive. Bernie had a back injury. Not enough to go to the hospital, but it was something that stayed with him, that poor dude. Well, and my first inclination was, let's get out and get this thing turned over and drive out of here before the neighbors start running outside. Too late. All of a sudden, lights start coming on outside. Porch lights are coming on. We're like, oh no. Somebody comes running out from across the street, and they're like, what are you doing? Bob, are you a maniac? Of course, we kind of were, and we looked pretty scary to those guys. And remember, it's Halloween. We're in black leather and mohawks, you know. We're intoxicated. But that very wreck sobered my ass up. I mean, I didn't feel drunk at all. I was more worried about getting out of there. It kind of sobered me up. Kinda. Well, and then another neighbor comes out of the yard that we landed in, and that person says, I'm like, look, we're just going to push this thing over because it was a real lightweight Jeep, you know, hence it rolling so easily. And I thought we can surely push it over, and we got it over on one side, right? And then they said, nope, we're calling the cops right now. You're not going anywhere. And I'm like, come on, trying to beg them, please don't. We don't need this. I don't want to go to jail. Well, they did. And within just a couple of minutes, 3 or 4 cops showed up there. Lights ablazing. We're like, this is so unnecessary, but very necessary to protect the neighborhood from punks like us. The cop gets there. First thing he says to me is, how fast were you driving, man? I said, like 20, 25 miles an hour. All of them start laughing like, you liar. There's no way you could have done this kind of damage and ended up in this yard upside down going that speed, dummy. But I was pretty intoxicated and just wanted to get out of this as best I could. So now I just lied on top of committing different, criminal acts. And then I thought about it. Oh my gosh, what about that weed stashed up in the dashboard? And sure enough, the weed fell, but only 1 of the grams, which was, according to Illinois law, illegal. Yep, 2.5 grams or less is a charge in Illinois, or used to be before legalization, or should I say, the non-federal legalization of cannabis in Illinois. So these days you can get that stuff legally, but still federally illegal, of course. But the cop saw that weed, and I was just grateful that he didn't find more, because the charges go up according to how much you have, right? So all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, next thing it's going to be a DUI test. The old test where you have to touch your nose and do a certain walk and do all this stuff that you can't really do when you're even sober. That didn't happen. That cop never even mentioned it. He might have said, have you been drinking? And I, of course said no. Well, they found 1 of those grams that had fallen over when we rolled, but the other 3 or 4 stayed right where they were. So that was cool. I ended up getting in trouble for just driving too fast for conditions and illegal possession of 2.5 grams or less of cannabis, which I ended up having 7 of those charges in the state of Illinois, mostly because they would stop me because I had long hair. This time I had it coming. I did something wrong. I violated the law. I'm upside down in someone's lawn, for Christ's sake. And yeah, man, but I'm happy to report, since they did legalize in Illinois, they got rid of and expunged the records of the people that were on, file for having criminal offenses and records for cannabis possession, especially minor amounts like I had. So I'm happy to say you can do a criminal background check on me today. Of course, there's no felonies, but there's also no cannabis convictions. Dun da da! Score 1 for the bloody mess. So my friends, I ended up getting in a little bit of trouble that night. Yep, they took me away to jail. Yep, for just a joint of weed, which is essentially what it was, maybe 2 joints and a gram, if you roll big doobies like me. Well, I ended up going to jail. I ended up getting out a couple hours later because I've got a lot of good family and friends that used to bail me out quite regularly. I'm not proud to say, but I am happy to say I did get bailed out. I ended up just paying it off. It was a huge fine. And, well, my poor stepfather, rest his soul, Dave, he had to come down and get my Jeep the next day, and it was really messed up. And it was a while before we got that thing fixed. And poor Dave, being the jack of all trades and kind of maintenance kind of guy that he was, he went down there and personally hand fixed all those mailboxes, and it took him quite a bit of time to do it. And to this day, I'm grateful. He's not here to thank, but I did thank him back then. Bernie, by the way, ended up staying in my band for a short time. I lost touch with him. I looked him up a couple years ago, and he's a born-again Christian, I think somewhere in Illinois, and I mean a hardcore born-again Christian. I did not reach out to him. I figured he probably doesn't want to hear from me, but, you know, all good vibes going out to Bernie from Bloody Mess and Hate in 1986. I'm just happy to say I survived. 0 injuries. Sorry to Bernie, who did get a back injury in that accident, which was a nightmare for me to have to live with that, knowing my friend was hurt. But I survived, and here I am, still alive in 2025. My friends, thanks again for subscribing to my channel. It was just a short tale that popped into my head tonight, and I thought, I might as well share this one because it's something that I think about once in a while. And I still miss that good old mail Jeep. Have a good night, my friends. Rock on. And long live the memory of Peter Tosh. Legalize it. Don't criticize it. Cheers.